Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Borja, and today I'll be talking about a city that will soon be in everyone's living rooms. As most of you may already know, the 2012 Olympic Games are right around the corner, and our host this year is London. Now before we all tune into the opening ceremonies in a couple weeks, I just wanted to take a moment and share some information on the city itself. So today I'll be talking about the history of London, the culture that has defined the city, and the historical attractions that have made London one of the most popular cities in the world. Just like the Olympics bring the world together every 4 years, London has done the same thing throughout its history. It's actually become known as a city that's tolerant and accepting of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions. As a result, many more languages are spoken in London each day than in any place else. And the city itself is referred to as the New York of the United Kingdom. I think it's really interesting to see the way our culture is very similar to that of England's, which is one of the reasons why I chose to do London as my topic. Geographically, London is located in southern England, which is right down here, and it sits on the River Thames. London is not only the capital of England, but it's also the capital of the United Kingdom itself. It has a population of approximately 7.6 million people, but it has over 15 million visitors every single year. This makes London one of the most visited cities in the world. Its history dates back to the Roman times when it was called Londinium, but today it actually consists of the city of Londinium, which is now called the city of London, as well as its 32 surrounding boroughs. Like I mentioned earlier, London is known for its tolerance and acceptance of people from different backgrounds, different religions, etc. Because of that, it's actually become a safe haven for many of the people who have traveled through the city and have basically resettled there. The diversity that they've brought and the diversity that London shows, it's very evident in their culture. For example, among London's many museums, they all give some sort of glimpse into the history, whether it be London's history, human history, or even dinosaurs. They have everything that you can possibly look at there, and people come from all around the world just to visit their museums. The British Museum, for example, which is this museum here, contains over 2 million years of human history. Here you can find the Rosetta Stone, many of you are familiar with. You can also find the Parthenon sculptures, and you can find Egyptian mummies there. Another popular museum is the Natural History Museum, which is this building here. This museum houses a permanent dinosaur collection. It's one of the most extensive ones too. Another museum that I found very interesting, although it's not very visited by many people, is the Museum of London. It's often overlooked only because London has so much more to offer and there's so much that you can see there. But I think it's a really important piece of London itself because it houses London's history from the prehistoric times to present day. It's called the Museum of London, so if you happen to go there, definitely worth a shot. It contains actual artifacts of the city itself, so anything from the Great Fire of 1666, they have artifacts there. They have any stuff from prehistoric times. I've seen some of the pictures, and I definitely would want to visit it if I was ever to go there too. Aside from their museums, they have an extensive amount of art galleries as well. The galleries that are present there display works of art from anyone from Picasso, Da Vinci, Rembrandt, Van Gogh, to even modern day artists and artists that are barely emerging. One of the most popular museums, or art galleries, sorry, is the Tate Modern. Its structure itself is very strange to people because it used to be an industrial building, but it houses the world's largest modern art. Many visitors agree that a visit to London isn't complete unless you visit the Tate. The other museum that I found interesting was the National Gallery, which is here. It's a great, enormous building, very beautiful. This one here has over 2,000 Western European paintings from the Middle Ages up until the 20th century. Lastly, the Guildhall Gallery. Again, it's a gallery that's less known, but it does have some great. It has some great history to it. It's actually the only building that survived the Great London Fire of 1666. When it was redone, it became the house of a Victorian art collection that was put away and almost destroyed itself because it was kept hidden for so long. For those of you who prefer theater instead of the arts and paintings, London's West End is actually very comparable to Broadway and in New York. Most of the most prominent writers, directors, producers, and actors have all made their marks in London's West End. For example, the London Palladium. The London Palladium is one of the most famous theaters in London itself. It's a little hard to see, but a lot of the pictures were. But what you can see today is The Wizard of Oz. That's what's playing there. For you musical lovers, Her Majesty's Theatre is an amazing venue. Right now they're playing one of my favorite productions, which is The Phantom of the Opera. Definitely something worth seeing. I would say London's historical artifacts are possibly the primary reason for visits each year. They're the crown jewel, so to speak, of the city. A lot of them you're probably already familiar with. I'll show those to you now. Big Ben. Everybody knows who Big Ben is. Most people, unfortunately, believe that the landmark itself is called Big Ben, but the name belongs to the bell. This one here, the London Eye. Everyone, again, knows what the London Eye is. What most people know of is that it's the giant Ferris wheel. It's actually an observation wheel, the largest one in the world. And the 30 minutes that it takes you to take the trip around the observation wheel, you actually can see over 55 of London's most famous landmarks. Another one that I found very fascinating was the Tower of London. This building itself is very old. It's a little hard to see, but it's a very old building. But one of the reasons why it's one of the most famous buildings is because it used to be a royal palace, a prison, a place of execution, an arsenal, a jewel house, and even a zoo. Today you can find the actual crown jewels there. This next one most people will recognize from movies. It's called Piccadilly Circus. This right here is London's most popular square. In the middle of the square you can find the Memorial Fountain. And in the Memorial Fountain you can see here, it's a little difficult to see, but this is the Greek god Eros. He's the god of love and beauty. The circus, Piccadilly Circus, is actually often referred to London's version of Times Square because of the neon signs. They mimic that of New York's. As far as cathedrals, London houses one of Europe's biggest cathedrals. That would be the St. Paul's Cathedral. This one here is most notably known for being housing the funeral of Winston Churchill. Everybody's familiar with the royal family, so everybody, of course, is familiar with Buckingham Palace. The royal family does still currently use sections of it, but it's also a place that can be toured. One of the other popular things about the Buckingham Palace is the changing of the guard, which happens every day at 11 o'clock. And the last one here is Westminster's Abbey. This here is the location. It's a little difficult, but here, this is the location of every coronation in London since 1066. The Abbey itself, it's stuffed with monuments, tombs, and statues of people who have passed, such as Charles Darwin and Sir Isaac Newton. There's still so much more that I can share with you, but this is just a small glimpse at such a fascinating city. I hope that I've provided you with enough insight of Europe's capital. You know a little bit more about the history, about the culture, and about the historical landmarks and attractions that make London a destination hotspot. So, as you watch the Olympic Games, I hope you keep in mind what I've shared with you today. You might be able to even pinpoint some of the attractions I showed you while you watch the games. I really enjoyed sharing with you guys what I learned, and I hope that you guys kind of found what I found out interesting too. So I will leave you at that. Thank you for your time.